They want. All right. They're supposed to be watching.
We should just set this up. This is immediately after 9/11, Wednesday. An ex-mafia.
I wonder if I think I know you because I've seen The Godfather and The Sopranos, and I think I know the script. I mean, I never saw a TV show called The Bin Ladens.
They're ready to give themselves to Allah. Allah!
And I was thinking,
I give you my life, Allah!
Virgins, open and healthy.
It'll come back like a chicken, so it can cut your neck and eat you. Come back like a cockroach, so it can step on you and kill you. It's so stupid. Come back like a receiver so it can watch. You're thinking.
Go on.
You're scared. You don't know what you want to do. I know what I'm going to do. I want my life. Maybe I'll learn about it.
So just to give you the background, I meet this Eugene Gambino.
Close this off. Why? Why?
Really?
Why do they close 15th Street off? City's not like it is. Maybe they're going to send us to Brooklyn now. What are you going to do? You want to go to Brooklyn?
No.
Well, it tells you got to go.
Well, why did you go this way? I've never been this way to
You told me to go to Village, so I did. So you got to go to Brooklyn?
No.
You got no choice.
I imagined that being an ex-mafia would be something like being an ex-Catholic. Never an ex, only a lapsed. So I was interested to find out how he might have dealt with such a situation had he been president. Because, you know, every American dreams about what they'd do if they were president.
This generation is lost. That's why we have a stupid government. Because they're lost. It's a lost generation. We have idiots in our government. Total idiots. If you had the old guys in there, they would have kicked ass quick. The mafia was government. Shit wouldn't happen. They would kill their family. They say, you want to die? Now we're going to kill your mother and father. And take everything you got away. You want to die? We're gonna make you die. Your whole family that gave birth to you is going to die too.
It's bad, you know.
The only way to beat these bastards.
So that's maybe just by way of introduction, just an excerpt. We can play some more later on if people want to hear it.
Yes.
Here you go. So that was just a little bit, I guess, to give you an indication of how New York's been so important to Wednesday. I'll introduce Wednesday, I think. Yeah. So I'll read the blurb that we put together. From Sydney to New York and back again, 21st century showgirl Wednesday Kennedy's memoir recounts a life of performance, style and hope, traversing the ashen days of 9/11, a toxic relationship of epic proportions, and the almost mean streets of King's Cross, Sydney. Described as a magical realist memoir, 21st Century Showgirl is an all-girls adventure epic about being a one-woman show in a brave new world. And Wednesday is, in case you don't know who Wednesday is, she's a writer and performer in theatre, cabaret, radio, TV and print. And she's lived and performed in lots of different places, including Sydney, of course, and Tokyo and Melbourne and New York and probably various other places, including Edinburgh at the Fringe Festival, the Oz Festival in Amsterdam, and crucially on Simon Townsend's Wonderworld. For how long were you on Simon Townsend's Wonderworld?
Oh, only a year.
What do frustrated singers do when they can't afford a backing band? Well, at the Find a Star Talent Quest, it's no problem because the music is provided by a tape through this machine here called the Karaoke K99, and it provides whatever music you want, even down to the backing vocals. Margaret, why did you think up a talent quest?
Well, I think that in a club of this situation where people are out there and there's a lot of raw talent, a lot of these people, which you will see tonight too, have never ever performed as such on a stage in front of an audience. Right, okay, here we go again.
Margaret rehearses each performer individually before they go out on stage.
Take me to your heart. Way back in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods amongst the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of
I think you know it, Todd. You feel confident?
I do.
Good, let's go. Young gentleman who I think's got a lot of talent, and I think he will be going places in a very short time.
Way back in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods amongst the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of earthen wood. Well, it's a that I belong and will never part.
Yeah, so she's made radio features commissioned by ABC Radio National, and of course she's done one-woman shows all over the world, and two of them were Cultural Refugee and Last Night in New York. And you heard a little bit of the feature that went into the performance piece as well, called Last Night in New York.
Looks could kill. They'd hold him off right now. For crimes against humanity, they shaved his beard so they could see his face. They torture him for all the sins committed by his race, and if you let them conquer you, over...
which featured sound and videoscapes that Wednesday recorded in the streets of Manhattan immediately after 9/11. So yeah, welcome Wednesday, and thanks very much for coming to the Memoir Club.
Wow, I'm honoured. Thank you for having me.
And we're here really to talk about your book, 21st Century Showgirl, but to talk more broadly, I suppose, about performance and how that ties with writing a memoir as well. You are, I think, a performance poet. Is that fair to say, first and foremost? And
I actually started off as a monologist, or I was inspired by monologues like Jane Martin's Talking With, and what's his name? The British equivalent. Yes, Spalding Gray, actually Talking Heads, Alan Beckett, Talking Heads, and so I began actually writing monologues. Well, it started like this, right? I said, I want a job. He said, what sort of job? I said, the sort of job where I can lie around doing nothing all day, but thinking about things and writing them down. And then I get up on the stage and I talk to people. He said, oh, you want a job as a performance artist? Let's have a look in our books. Let's have a look on the B for bludgers, nothing there. Let's try W for wankers, nothing there. I tell you what, there's nothing, but how about we send you off this nice little telemarketing job, and that'll put your talking skills to good use. I said, no thanks, I think I'll find another agency. So I went back to Centrelink. I said, I want to join the Curie agency. He said, are you Aboriginal? I said, well, sort of. And I found myself in the poetry scene, because I was never really much of a singer, but I suppose I found myself in spoken word. There was a scene sort of at that time, and the poets would always have me. You know, like I surfed through a lot of, I never really felt a part of any culture. I worked in theatre, I worked in cabaret. You know, the poets are the closest, I suppose. Poets are a little bit like Catholics in that they'll have anybody.
Together with her on a poem that we would write together. So I said, I'm working on this thing about how fascism begins at home. She said, what do you mean? I said, you know, I'm talking about in your mind, that you're always stuck thinking the thought that you're thinking, and how great it would be if only you could think the other thought, or any other thought. And she said, oh, that would be great, Pop, but there's only one thing. I said, what's that? She said, that's impossible. And so, because of the way she is, I knew that I then had to write the impossible rap. And I have done that, and I'm going to premiere it here tonight for you, and you, and you.
Yeah.
And you!
Yeah.
Last night, just as I was passing into sleep, one final thought began to race me to the dream, intercepting the sweet powers of Morpheus and pressing me to wakefulness and purpose. I drew my pen and prepared to set down this marvel, the final thought of my existence, or so it seemed. The thought itself was panting, near death when I retrieved it. It called itself The Other Thought.
Which is your first book, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's a transcription of a voice in some ways from stage to page, but it's also more than that, isn't it? Because you tried out your voice in kind of monologue and dialogue online as well. And I think, you know, your MySpace dialogues and then subsequently Facebook has actually been important in some ways in working out these scripts, hasn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that book actually, I doubt I would have finished it if not for MySpace, because when I came back, when I finally sort of landed back here, you know, head first in 2006, you know, I was in a state of exile on a lot of levels. There was a time when Trouble was a name you could be proud of. If your middle name was Trouble, you were never out of work. But that was before we knew planes could be missiles and buildings could melt and dreams could fall out of the sky. Since disaster came home, there's no end to the trouble. We are falling through cracks and screaming from rooftops, and no one is coming to help. There's trouble as far as the eye can see. No one needs more of it, not even me. So I gave up my name without choosing another. And that's when the trouble began. A cultural refugee. I'll just load my cold carcass onto a plane, preferably Qantas. That's why our hands and me voila. You know, I was like the prodigal daughter in my family, and I'd taken the risk, but I hadn't sort of come home with the booty. And socially, on lots of different levels, I'd probably burn a million bridges, but not deliberately, you know, just, you know, I don't know. When you come back and you've got nothing in your hands, you're not a very good source of supply. And I think performance mostly, sometimes it works on a love level, but, you know, mostly it's sort of a supply level. So a lot of the people that you have, when you are good supply, when it looks like you might be going somewhere or something happening or you can get a vibe happening, you've got a lot of people around you. But when you come back and you're sort of like, you know, the sort of middle-aged perimenopausal version of a Vietnam vet, you don't have so much, you're not such a good source of supply. But I was also in a full-on state of PTSD at that stage, and that lasted for a while, and I didn't really leave the house. I was a hermit for about 3 years, and my only community was MySpace, but I found, like, the artists' exchange was just amazing, and we read each other's work, and I was interested in their work, and they were interested in my work, and that definitely fueled the finishing of this book, because nothing about Australia said, finish that book. Actually, everything said, just shut up and, you know, retire quietly to the country where we don't have to hear you anymore.
always canoe at dawn. I always fake my orgasms. That doesn't make it right. Let's go.
Just a mirror when well you realize that there isn't a reason why we shouldn't cross our hearts and fall in love. Give me one good reason why we shouldn't cross our hearts and fall in love. I go in space wondering how it would be to feel the real waters down, and I'm keeping
My daughter-in-law has
all reasons. I'm keeping all the reasons. Give me reason why we shouldn't cross our hearts and fall about.
But when I came back here, it was like, I was like Chappelle Corby. It was a Chappelle Corby dreaming. and so to finish the book was really, it was a type of an act of defiance. And then I launched on a MySpace, and it was this most amazing launch, and everybody came and changed their avatars, and it was fantastic. And I ended up selling 100 books on MySpace. But then I got tired of pimping. I got tired of the megaphone. And I put it away, and then I went on the Snake Kennedy journey, and I started the next book.
Fall in love. Give me one good reason why we shouldn't cross our hearts and fall about. And fall in love. There's a reason.
We can work together. We all want to do Friday dinner,
You know, I think I was so on the outside, or I felt, you know, for whatever reasons, I felt in a state of sort of exile for quite a long time. And that ultimately sort of led to a type of homelessness.
I never imagined I'd end up homeless. I mean, who imagines themselves homeless? I was imagining myself fabulous. One of the winter. But sometimes, overnight, there you are, homeless. And if heaven is a place called home, then homeless is a place called hell.
You're quite photogenic, Billy.
Still, a girl must remain optimistic at all times.
Thanks, Billy.
All right. Yeah, don't worry about that.
I love that family that I was with, and I learned a lot about Chinese Indonesia.
It's Chinese New Year. Are you a rabbit?
Yeah, I'm a rabbit. And I found myself a little burrow in the city. I always wondered what it looked like inside these apartments. Now I know. The city is littered with burrows like this. These apartments were built by wealthy Chinese to be filled with Asian students, 4 to a room. My flatmates work day and night in minimum wage jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. They think Australians are all lazy. In the city of my birth, I am a stranger. I have fallen down the rabbit hole into a parallel universe. My city. There's no window in the room, just a glassed air vent. The wall doesn't meet the floor, so I can hear them in the kitchen. It's built for survival. It's not built for living. Who cares if you live in a rabbit hole? The foyer looks just like a palace. And if you feel a little cramped, you can take a bus across town to the Church of Happy Days. All hail the god of corporate Asia.
Go outside of your seat and say, this is a happy day, I want to rejoice and be glad in it. Yeah, I want to rejoice and be glad in it. Say hi, say you look sexy.
It was a happy, clappy, fill 'em up with Jesus vibe. At least they were having a go. But they were pushing so hard for the Holy Spirit, I was scared they were going to bust a hemorrhoid. The truth is, I wasn't really there for God. I just wanted a job as a videographer. Time to move on.
Come on, Jordan, make them smile. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I don't know about you, but I'm so excited to be in the house of God today.